this video. Today, I wanted to set up a comparison between using dual amps versus using dual cabs. Now that might seem like an odd comparison, but here's the idea. A lot of people might be like me. You might have an FM3 and you might be thinking about buying an FM9, or you might be thinking about which one you should buy, whether or not you already have one. So my hypothesis is that most people will not need dual amps, and that's probably not a reason why you would want to buy the FM9 over the FM3. Plenty of other reasons, but this was the thing that I wanted to set up a test for because I think it's actually pretty interesting to test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what I've got set up in this preset, and then we're just going to play through some sound samples, and then you can listen and make up your own mind about if you feel like that's an important thing to you. Couple of things I want to know. There's a couple of things about dual amps that I think are kind of like the key features of doing that. One is the complexity of the sound. You're taking like what two complex amps are doing to shape the tone of the sound, and you're mixing them together. So you're adding some harmonic complexity. You're also potentially, I think most people are, using the stereo field, and maybe not, if not hard panning them pretty hard, and then or maybe not, maybe you're mixing them together, maybe you're purely doing that, but I think most people are doing some sort of panning with the two amps to widen the stereo field of the sound. So we're going to look at a couple of ways in which the cab can actually do that for you, both of those things. So first things first, let's go through the preset. So what we've got here, pretty simple setup actually. I've got two amps. First I've got the AC20 and the AC30. Now, there's different ways people use a dual amp setup. You may actually use, what I've seen quite a lot is two similar amps, like this, a matchless maybe, and an AC30, or like a Fender, what is it called, ProSonic or something like that with an AC30, something like that. Or like a Bassman with an AC30, right? Anyways, similar-ish, setup kind of similar-ish, and you're just wanting to add a little bit of complexity. The other way is you've got a clean amp and you've got a dirty amp, something like, Eric Johnson with like a totally clean Fender and then like a dimed Marshall, right? That's obviously a completely different thing, and maybe amp channels would be better for that if you're completely switching sounds. That's not what we're going to analyze today. We're going to analyze kind of a similar amp setup, mixing the harmonics together, seeing what that sounds like. So we've got two amps. We're running them into a mixer, and we'll go over what the mixer is going to do in a second. We've got a cab. We're going to use two different channels on the cab, and I'll explain what those do in a second. And then we've just got a very light medium plate, and it sounds something like this. This is just the first amp. Okay, that's just the AC30. We'll go through the sound samples in a second. So what I've got here in terms of scenes, you'll notice there's 6 scenes set up. I've got the AC20 mono, I've got the AC30 mono, and when I say mono, I mean they're both using the same cab, right? So not utilizing the stereo field, same signal in both, left and right. So if I haven't said already, you probably should listen with headphones to this video if you weren't doing that already. Scene 3 is dual stereo amps. We're taking the AC20, we're processing it through the same cab, hard panned left. The AC30 through the same cab, hard panned right though. So we'll see, I'll show you how we do that. Let's go to scene 3. Here in the mixer, we got 100%, volume level, gain level, and then we're hard panning the AC20 left, hard panning the AC30 right. And then in the cab, you can see we're using the same cab, but we're again hard panning it left and right. And what's important to note here, you can look at the diagrams in the manual to prove it to yourself, but the left, when you're in stereo input mode in the cab block, stereo input mode, you'll notice it says cab 1L, cab 2R, cab 3L, cab 3R. Cabs 1 and 3 let you process the signal on the left channel, and cabs 2 and 4 let you process the signal on the right channel. So by in the mixer block, hard panning the amps left and right, we're able to independently process both amp signals within one cab block. And so hopefully I proved to you that that's what we're doing here, and there's no trickery. So we've got AC20 mono to compare to AC30 mono to compare to the 2 amps hard pan left and right to compare. And all 3 of those scenes are using the same exact cab. The channel on the cab block is not changing, right? And so in scene 1, we're listening only to, actually this is mislabeled. This is the AC30. Nope, I'm reading it wrong. Sorry, my eyes are blind. We're listening to the AC20. I did do it right. And then in scene 2, yep, it took a second to update there. We're listening only to the AC30. Okay, I did do this right. Crisis averted. And that signal is being straight down the middle. So the same, because the cab is the same, it doesn't matter that these are hard pan left and right. It's the same. Okay, now moving on from that, we're going to listen to those sound samples and compare those. And then for comparison, now we're moving on to scenes 4, 5, and 6. Let's look at scene 4. This is just the AC20. So in the mixer cab, we've just got the AC20 going straight down the middle. Now we've got different cabs. We've got the same cab on the left. See channel B here, stereo input mode. Same cab on the left, different cab on the right, hard panned right. So this is the 1 amp, 2 different cabs, hard pan left and right. We're utilizing the stereo field. I think this is the point I'm trying to make with this video is the cab affects a lot of the tone shaping of the amp signal. And so by having 2 different amps and by panning them in some configuration that's desirable to you, you get a lot of the benefits of a dual amp setup. If you're going for this situation where you kind of want similar-ish amps, you just want kind of like a little bit brighter, a little bit darker tone, mixing them together, you can absolutely do that. With dual cabs, you do not need dual amps. And hopefully I'll prove that to you in this video. All right, so that's scene 4 is AC20 stereo cabs. Scene 5, same thing except the AC30 stereo cabs. And then just for fun, scene 6 is we've got both amps, hard pan left and right, both different cabs, hard pan left and right, just for grins and giggles to hear what that sounds like in comparison with, that one's gonna be interesting to listen to back and forth with scene 3, the stereo amps, but same cab. All right, so that's enough of my yakking. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to play the same riff over and over again. Hopefully I won't mess it up more than 0 times. And I'll try to play the same riff back to back to back, and I'll jump between these different options, and hopefully you can read the screen and you'll be able to see and hear the difference. Listen for the difference between the stereo field and also listen to the difference in the tone. So here we go. Here goes nothing. So hopefully you didn't get tired of that riff. I actually sat here playing that riff for like an hour yesterday. It was so much fun. Love these amps, love the sound, love the Fractal. Half of you are probably going to be convinced that you definitely need dual amps, and half of you are probably, hopefully, going to be surprised that, yeah, maybe dual cab would work out well for me. Or maybe just the mono cab sounded good too. Yeah, that's all I've got for this video. I thought it wouldn't be nice to just do a simple sound comparison. This is a point that I don't know that I've seen a lot of people talk about, that, you know, a lot of people talk about dual amps like it's a real huge deal. I tried it for a while. I used it a lot. And then I just realized that the dual, what I was looking for, what I was getting out of it was mostly the stereo field part of it, and that I actually really just like the sound of the 1 amp. In fact, the AC20 here is what I use most often. So for me, it works perfectly fine. And in fact, I'm usually okay using just a big stereo reverb, stereo delay. That adds the breadth of sound that I want to hear. But dual cabs with some amount of stereo panning definitely is a thing that works if you're trying to record. You know, that's the other point too, is like the dual stereo sound to me, Scene 3, sounded something more like a record for sure. And I think that's because it's just more complex and a little bit richer. But if I were gonna record it, I would just double track it anyways. And I could just switch between 1 amp and then another amp, and maybe a little bit of a different setup, a little bit of a different delay, maybe a different drive pedal, different settings on the same amp, right? If you're gonna record, if your purpose is recording, you're probably gonna double track it anyways, at least double track it. So to me, the question really is, do you need dual amps live? And to me, that answer for me is definitely not. That's definitely not enough of a benefit to me in a live sound to have dual amps, to spend the CPU on that. Although you notice that this XFX, so powerful, is sitting at a cool 35%. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yakking. Hopefully that was helpful to you to hear the difference. If you don't happen to have an XFX3 like I do, if you've got an FM3, you can do the same exact thing. You can grab this preset or grab do the same thing in the cab lock and have dual stereo cabs. You do not need to have an XFX3 or an FM3 to do that. So yeah, that's it for this video. Really appreciate you watching. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. One more time.